The pen is the most important tool of the journalists. On this show, journalists who are the news reporters and news presenters become the newsmakers. That is why we call it pens down. The journalists drop their pen and then they talk to us. All the behind the scenes issues, even the motivation that got them into journalism, they tell it all here. I have been joined today by a colleague. He is an award-winning business journalist with a strong understanding of the energy, money, and capital markets. He is the news editor at Business Day, Nigeria's foremost business newspaper. He worked at Punch Nigeria Limited, that is the most widely read newspaper in Nigeria, for over 7 years and rose to become assistant business editor before leaving in 2022. He started out his journalism career when he was appointed to the role of campus life correspondent for the Nation newspapers in 2009. He joined Business Day in late 2012 as an energy reporter and left in 2014. He has won several awards, including the CNN Multi-Choice African Journalist of the Year Award for Economics and Business in 2015, and the Best Journalist Oil and Gas Reporting Award at the 2017 West Africa Media Excellence Award, organized by the Media Foundation for West Africa. Mr. Femi Asu is my guest. Welcome to PENSDOWN, sir.
Okay, thank you so very much.
Let me start on a lighter note. A colleague I hosted here told me business journalism is for intelligent minds. Will you buy that?
Definitely.
Right.
It's an aspect of journalism that requires, dealing with numbers. And so anyone who wants to go into it should have that working knowledge of arithmetic.
How did you discover the journalist in you in the first place while growing up or during your formative years?
Okay. When I was a teenager, the passion for writing was discovered.
Okay.
When I was in school, even though it wasn't really because I wanted to be a journalist, but I just loved writing.
Okay.
Teenage years. And so I continued to write, and I was doing it as often as possible. I was reading books that would enhance my writing ability and skills. And so at some point, I wanted to be a journalist, even didn't fully understand what it meant, but I just write. And getting to the institution, I also wanted to keep on writing, even though I was studying accounting.
Wow.
Writing was still very deep, skin deep. And I had to join the Student Union Press Corps.
Okay.
And then I kept on writing. While I was in school, I was able to join an initiative of the Nation newspapers that allows campus journalists or students who want to write to and then get featured in newspapers. That was how my campus journalism started.
Wow. So in the trenches, how long have you been in the trenches doing journalism?
Yeah, it's been over 10 years now as a professional journalist, especially a business and financial journalist. And I caught my business journalism seat at Business Day when I joined in late 2012.
Okay, right. The business journalist or business journalism is what brings us all those figures, some of them looking very scary. The GDP, the inflation rates, among others. With your experience in business journalism, is it the case that sometimes policymakers manipulate some of the figures before they drop it out for public consumption? For instance, inflation figures, when they feel that it looks too bad for them to tell the whole truth. Have you had that experience where maybe from your own research or investigation, you've realized that some of these figures may be drawn by the central bank or so and so as a policy maker was manipulated?
Okay. Over the years, covering business, I mean, I've seen data from governments that fail to reflect current realities. And that is not to say that those data were doctored.
Okay.
Given inflation as an example, inflation figures are released for the previous months.
Yes.
And so when those figures are released, most citizens or many people who ordinarily feel the impact of high prices in the market tend to those figures as not in line with what they currently experience, basically because they felt those figures were measuring what is currently happening. But and those figures are the previous months. And an aspect of it is that when the statistics office comes up with figures, it's basically an average. It can't be accurate, it's an estimate. And for instance, if you look at inflation, I mean, there's a basket of goods and services that are brought together, and then an average of that is done. So it can't reflect the real increase in the price of each item in that basket. So it can, I mean, but then there's the possibility that sometimes the government could find a way to soften those data. Some government could do that. I've heard economists, I mean, prominent economists argue that data released for so and so period were not in line with the reality. And so it's possible there could be some miscalculation, even if, I mean, deliberate. There could be inadvertent errors or miscalculation somewhere. And so, yes, while we look at those data, when we report, we also look at what people are saying, what the market looks like. We look at prices in the market. So, which is why we have to send reporters to the market to gauge the prices, to know what people are actually paying. And then we can compare with that of the previous months, which the data is reflecting. And so it helps us to then compare government data with the market realities.
Okay. The sector of journalism you focus on has to do with what I call the money bags, those who control the liquid cash. You are talking about oil. You are talking about business and finance. I mean, within the economy, those are the people whose impact matter a lot. How many times, or have you at any time been approached with anything monetary or material to compromise the facts of any report you were doing so that you take it home?
Well, I mean, not directly in any case, but I mean, one would not be honest to say that there aren't issues of ethical issues sometimes. People wanting to write stories in a way that favors them. Because over time, working in a place like Punch, where people already know that whatever you do, journalists will still. The PR, professionals know that what we only want is nothing but the truth. And when there is a report, all I do is get in touch with the other party or the company involved to say, this is what the fact is saying, or this is what we've discovered. What are you going to say? What's your reaction? We're then to balance up. So I haven't had anyone coming to me and say, oh, don't publish this story.
Okay.
Because the the track record over the years has been that whatever is factual is what I report. And so nobody would ordinarily come to say, oh, Femi has reported something that is, skewed against us just because he wants to winch hunt us or because he wants to black. Over the years, what I have done. And so when people come to me and say, oh, take this, even if they are giving it to me, they know that it's not because they are telling me to not write a story. Right? Because, we all agree that in the journalism landscape in Nigeria and some parts of Africa, that money inducement, financial inducement is always there. And that's partly because of the fact that journalism is not, a profession where most professionals get the best remuneration that they deserve. So those that we cover know these, and then they are able to say, oh, take this as transport fare, or take this as appreciation. And so when they do that, the understanding one should always give to them is that, yes, if you do this and I accept it, it's not because I want to favor you or because you are telling me to kill a story. It's always something that over the years have made it clear to people. I'm not going to kill a story.
Okay.
All important is to balance it.
Let's look at how social media is changing the face of journalism. Africa has seen richer bloggers than richer journalists. Where did we miss it at journalists with regard to fully harnessing the potential of social media?
Okay, I think it starts, for me, the way the professionals are treated. And when I was talking about the issue of remuneration,
yes,
those who are in a profession feels that they are not well paid. It also has a way of influencing their commitments.
Okay.
And so if you do not get the best people, then you are not able to harness the potential that they have. Okay. Because the best people are leaving the profession.
Yes.
For instance, we've seen a number of young journalists coming in, mass communication graduates coming in. But then when a number of them sees, when they see what is currently going on, where those who have spent years in the profession are giving tales of woes about their experiences over the years, and it sending those young people out of the profession. So the industry is not then able to maximize the potential that it has. So I think there's also a need for mentoring.
Okay.
In many media houses, not many people are able to train young journalists. Not many people are even willing to train others. And so if you have that mentoring in place, then those who are coming in would not last. They won't stay. And so in those, abilities and skills that could have come into the sector or the industry.
Right. But has social media really changed the face of journalism? Has it changed the way journalism is practiced?
Definitely it has, in many ways. Now, today, companies can go to Twitter or Facebook to drop information. And then as a journalist, you have to quickly go there to get your story out of it. Government data are released on social media oftentimes. So a journalist who only waits for press releases or events to get stories would definitely miss out on a lot of stories. So social media has made it easy, for journalists to even get information that in the past would be difficult to get. Today, you could go on social media to send a message to someone you want to interview and then get a response, either a yes or no. So social media is really transforming that industry. While it has its negative impact, I think the positives are more. It's able to harness those advantages that it has.
In Nigeria, it is called the brown envelope. In Ghana, we call it sole. In Cameroon, they call it gombo. I'm told in Nigeria, certain parts call it kwa, certain parts call it balamu. What is your take on it?
Okay. Honestly, I think it's something that needs to be addressed.
Indeed, let me quickly add this. When I spoke to Mr. Lekan Tufodurin, one of the celebrated media icons we have in Africa, he said, in fact, these days there is even transfer. It's not about brown envelope anymore.
Yeah.
So look at all that together for me.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the industry, I realized that it's something that is seen as common, right? And then many of those people who give out those brand envelopes or whatever it's called, tend to think, like I said earlier, they are giving you transport fare. For instance, if you invite an event and they feel take this transport fare and go where you're coming from, because they believe that if they don't do that, you might not come for their events. Because they also understand that many journalists are poorly paid. And so why should they invite you to their events and expect you to spend your hard-earned salary that is even not enough to take you home to come to their events? And then story and still publish it. So they then understand that and use that to their advantage by ensuring they give out whatever it is they can use in quotes to appreciate those journalists. So it's something that, I mean, has been on for many years and also endemic. And until we go to the roots of the problem to say, why did this start in the first place? Then there's nothing anybody can say about it. It will continue. I think the basic issue for me is the remuneration of the journalists. If many journalists are well paid, I think they will not be subject to those, I mean, those things that come in form of payments. Even though that stops some people from doing it, but at least a lot of people would then be comfortable enough to say, oh, I don't need this, especially when it's done to make them kill or not write a particular story. So it's important that we deal with this issue first, the root problems or the root cause of the brand envelope and the financial inducement that we see in the sector. And that is also why many journalists would not report things that, if I report on or whoever has done this for me will not deal that they have lost one avenue of, in quotes, revenue. So it's impacting on both the profession and because if journalists look away from things they should report on and people are suffering, then those things will continue and we will all, I mean, majority will suffer for it. So the problem is deep-rooted, I must tell you. And it's difficult to tell a journalist gratification or inducement. It's difficult, especially at a time where cost of living is on the rise. Then it's something that is impacting negatively on the industry, society generally. So the professionals or the practitioners or those who are the aim of affairs in the industry, I think should sit down and ask themselves what would be the basic remuneration that would enable a journalist to live, if not average, at least something that can enhance their standard of living. Come to that realization that there is need to address this until the stakeholders come together and say this is a problem. Then we only have outliers, and the outliers will not be many. They will mostly be those who are working in places where they are well paid, or who, have a lot going for them. And that will not help the society in a significant way. That's my thought on it.
Some of our colleagues I have hosted here say that journalists should be licensed so that remunerations can be made better. Should journalists be licensed?
That's a difficult one. Given the fact that a number of people come into journalism, not necessarily because they studied or journalism, licensing journalists could be something that will limit people who are passionate about journalism to come in who did not have journalism degree. So for me, I think what is important is for each media organization to say, oh, these are the journalists we have employed, and ensure that good remuneration. That's and when due. We have association, I don't know if it is in Ghana too, we have association of proprietors of newspapers and other media houses.
Yes, Ghana, we have something like Editors Guild.
Yeah, we also have that in Nigeria. I think those bodies, organizations could champion initiatives that will ensure that majority of journalists are paid. And if salaries are owed for months, something should be done. Because why would you expect one who is not paid, say, for 3 months to not compromise? Except the person has a fallback plan. Or something. So the temptation will be so high. So that's, for me, I think it's not really about licensing, because if we bring in the issue of licensing, then it means that government may also have to regulate. So regulating the media is a big issue. If government comes in, it could have its own negative implications.
I think to buttress it, recently in Nigeria, after the BBC did that expose on the Zamfara terrorists and their issues, and I think one other television in Nigeria, is it Trust TV or so, the Media Commission in Nigeria fined Trust TV a certain amount, saying that they were painting the nation in negative light. So I think it buttresses your point that regulating also will put the media in the bosom of the government, and the manipulation is going to be intense and make it almost toothless. Then the media, I suspect, may become just a publicity machine for the ruling class. So you said you studied accounting. That means you are an accountant by profession, am I right?
Yes, that's right.
Wow. Now, if we are to go back into time, 12 years, are you still going to choose the same path, journalism and business journalism for that matter?
Yes, that's a big yes. That's a big yes. It's something that I'm so passionate about. And over the years that I've done business journalism, I realized that my accounting background or degree has been useful, because I've been able to bring to bear many of the things I learned in accounting while studying accounting to my work as a business journalist. For instance, if I have to look at the economy, or for instance, stock markets.
Mm.
Many of those things were taught when we were in school.
Mm.
And so it's easy for me to then be able to bring those theory that I learned into practice, into my story today.
Yeah.
If I have to decide again, even though some people will tell me, oh, why did you leave accounting? Accounting is lucrative.
Mm.
It was a challenge for my parents to accept that journalism is what I wanted to do.
Mm.
They could not take it, given the fact that I came out of university with first class just because I was into campus journalism. And that's much I've told several persons. If I wasn't involved in campus journalism in school, my time to get a first class would have been achieved.
You mean it was your campus journalism activities that gave you first class in accounting?
No, that's made it difficult for me to achieve it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I couldn't achieve the first class because I was into campus journalism.
Right. Right.
As a campus journalist, I was everywhere in the student complex call, trying to get news across campus.
Mm.
And it limited the time I could put into my studies.
Mm.
I had two things I was chasing: the accounting degree and my journalism career that I saw then.
Mm.
So, and they say when you have to, divide your attention, you may not get the best.
Mm. That's true.
So you may not get the best that you could if you are just focused on one.
Mm.
And so given that background, I already knew that journalism was what I would do. I knew that. So when I left school, immediately I told myself, though I worked for a business consultancy firm for 1 year, I had to pull out because I just wanted to do journalism.
Mm.
So that I love to do, and I think if I have to choose again, definitely I would choose journalism.
Share with us your golden memories, these 10 years or a little above that you've been in this profession.
Okay. One of them is the fact that when I write stories and governments react to it in a way, it gives one joy to say, oh, what we're doing matter. Yes, sometimes it might seem like, oh, government is not listening, or whoever you're writing about does not care. Then there have been several instances where one writes a story and then government reacts to it, whether it's positive or negative reaction. I remember an experience, though it's not on a good note anyway, where I did a story, and just because of an error somewhere in that story,
yes,
and then the next day the government sends a press release all the way from the presidency about the story. So even though that experience wasn't so palatable, but it gave the sense that what we do matter.
Yes.
We can't afford to be careless or to think that I'm just here for the pay.
Yeah.
It gives us a sense that we're here to do what we can do to make our society better. So that for me is one of, the highlights. And then given the fact that the work that I've done over the years to have got some recognition. I remember in 2015 when I was in Nairobi for the CNN award.
Okay.
That was so beautiful. It gave a sense that if one is able to commit to excellence as a journalist, there are rewards. The reward may come in form of awards or may come in form that you wrote that story. That story changed something about my society or changed something about my company or saying something about my own life. So things that we get that gives joy, and one of them is that award. And because I never imagined that I would get that recognition as such when I got it. I was just 2 or 3 years into professional journalism when the recognition came. And then it gives me a boost to continue to do the very best and to put into whatever I do.
Right. Does journalism pay? You've said a lot already, but relate it practically. Does it pay?
Yes, definitely. Journalism has paid. And your question reminds me of a question I got when I was about to go into professional journalism.
Okay.
In Business Day in 2012. And then I got into the editor's office. Just, I'm going to the story that led to getting into his office. Okay. So I got into his office to say, I want to work as a journalist. Apparently, he had seen my CV and studied accounting with a good grade, and he was wondering. So the first question he asked me when I got into his office was, why do you want to do journalism? Will journalism feed you? That was the question he asked. So I'm sure he just opposed my accounting degree with the fact that I wanted journalism.
Yes, and the prospects.
And the prospects. And then I answered him saying, I have passion for journalism, and I believe that if I do it with excellence, journalism has paid me. I may not have enough, to show in terms of material possession.
Yeah.
But I know that over the years, I've worked in a place where the salary or the remuneration happens to be one of the best in the industry.
Okay.
And I was in Punch. Punch would pay you well and then pay you as an when due.
Okay.
And so, as a journalist, you would have no reason to say, oh, I do not, at the end of the month, I can't get my salary, or oh, my salary is not coming in, or I'm paid only, given the average that you see in the industry.
Yeah. Well,
and then moving away from Punch, Business Day, is also paying very well. So for me, journalism has paid off, given the fact that I have had to pursue my passion. I'm happy doing it. And when you get happiness doing anything, you can only imagine what you will get. It will get better. Because when you do happiness, you want to give it your very best. And then when you give it your very best, people will see the outcome. And then the more people see your outcome as excellent, they engage you for further things, and then you get monetary reward for it. Okay. So for me, journalism is something that I believe if one is able to do it well, even if you don't get paid well at some point, so long as you put in excellence, somebody somewhere will see what you're doing, put in better and better pay. Today, we know journalists who have left different organizations just because they are doing good and then they are being pushed. So journalism is something that I can never in any way say I regret. The other day, I was telling one of my my colleagues in the office that I started accounting, and the question was, you should big accounting firms now. You are doing auditing and making big money.
Yes, you would have been with Price Waterhouse or Deloitte or one of these big. Yeah. That's right. At the level of editors, news editor, page editor, whatever it is, you interface with proofreaders a lot. And also you interrelate among yourself a lot. There are times, especially between editors or news editors and proofreaders, conflict over which one is grammatically correct, which one is this, which one is the correct thing for a headline. Have you been having such issues back and forth? Maybe the proofreader says this language does not portray it well. Then you are fully persuaded that this is how you want to capture it. How many times have you had any such issues?
Given what the reality is now, readers are not many.
Okay.
I mean, sub-editors are not many. So it's whereby the reporter sends the story and it goes straight to the editor who is to edit it.
Yeah.
So oftentimes, when I was reporting, a situation whereby when I send in stories, the sub-editor might feel, oh, this is not grammatically okay.
Okay.
And so as that person can give the reason why it's not, and it's clear. I don't think I have to argue with that person. All I always want to ensure is to say, what is the principle behind this?
Okay.
So if one understands that, okay, this is the principle behind it, then one would then be able to apply it the next time. But just to say, oh, this is not correct without explaining why, I do not think is acceptable. I don't think I accept things like that. Right. And then when someone is editing a story and you think, oh, some figures of fact is not clear, I think the best thing is to find what is the primary source of that data or figure. And so we can cross-check. So it's something that, I mean, it's done. As an editor, what I've done, I mean, most times is to look at what has been sent to me. Okay. See how I could correct it. Sometimes I call the reporter to say, oh, you could have done this way. Or sometimes I get one of the major issues is reporters putting their opinion in news stories.
In news stories, which is not done.
Yes. And then I let them understand that you might think this is factual, but so long as it's not attributable to any source,
that's right,
then it's more or less your opinion. And if it's going to stay alone without any attribution, then you have to ask yourself, will anybody argue about this? Will anybody disagree with this particular line of thought that you think is a fact? So if you don't think that it generate debate or arguments, then you take it out. So that's the way I've always dealt with such issues.
How long do you intend to go before you drop your pen?
I really want to keep on doing journalism for as long as I remain on earth.
Let's look at the younger generation of upcoming journalists. I'm sure with your role, there are some under you, interns or entry-level professionals that sometimes you have to manage, you have to train, you have to help them get a sense of navigation around news reporting and general news work. A good number of senior colleagues, one of them Mr. Lekon Tufodorin, and then Mr. Yinka Laito, when I spoke to them, they shared with me some of the dilemma situations and frustrations these young professionals approach them with. It is beginning to look like, and I'm using Ghana as an example, it is beginning to look like journalism is experiencing dwindling fortunes in terms of even the numbers of people who are interested in going into it. Now, when they come, I don't know if you can also relate with the reality in Nigeria. When they come in, are there any frustrations they share with you? Have you had the opportunity to have any such discussion about dilemma? How do I progress? Mr. Olaito told me that it looks like the media has not been created to retain talent. So in certain media setups, you move 4 levels up and the roles are exhausted. So you don't even know, somebody can sit in one room for 10 years without promotion because the very next may be the publisher that you cannot be. It's not possible. You know, what are some of the frustrations or dilemma situations that some of these younger ones or even colleagues have shared with you or you've come to hear about?
Yes, I mean, talking about what Mr. Lekon Fodorin said, I'm sure he's one of the experts
Yeah.
Media career space. And he was there when I started my journalism, and so his mentoring was useful for me. So, given my experiences over the years and relating with colleagues and younger, I think the major issue is that some of them come into the industry thinking that it's more or less like a normal 5 to 5 job.
Yeah.
They are shocked when they realize that sometimes you have to work throughout the week, even weekends, and then your editor can call you at any time that the story is breaking and you have to write it. So many of them are not able to fit into that kind of environment. They come with the mindset that it's basically to just sit down somewhere, write stories, and that's all. That's the mindset some of them have. So when you then start telling them, oh, go to a place, cover the events, look at what's going on, speak with people, they find it difficult to adapt. Another major issue is, we've said this before, remuneration.
Yeah.
Key. Young people today would not want to come into an industry where they will be paid, say, for instance, in Nigeria, 50,000 naira.
Yeah.
Anything below 100,000. When their friends in the banks are over, say, 150 or 200,000.
Yeah.
Especially when they know that the job is also very stressful. So they then ask themselves, why do I want to receive poor pay at the end of the month and still do so much work?
Yeah.
So that's one of the major issues. Some feel, no, journalism is not what they want to do because they didn't imagine it the way they experienced it before they. And some felt, why should somebody wake up in the morning and be telling them the story? And then we know that generally it's not only Nigeria. The issue of people going for greener pastures points. Many want to go out.
Yes.
Studies or just because they want to leave the country for something better. So there is now that craze to go abroad. And so that's also impacting the media houses. So I think these are the issues. These are the major issues that I mean make young journalists not want to stay.
Okay, great. My next question. When you came into the media from the accounting field, you worked as an accountant, decent job, clean. There was no dirty work involved. You sit in your office, do all your calculations, put your figures together, you get paid and you move. 5 p.m. you have closed. Now you walk into the media house and you are given an offer letter that tells you working hours depends on the pattern or the nature of the way things happen within the office. That is basically there are no reporting and closing times because it is possible sometime at 9 p.m. something may break and they will call you, okay, so track this thing for me since it is closer to your area. That means for the journalism you are doing is almost like a lifestyle. In the early stages, you branched off from accounting to journalism. Did you nearly have a rethink, or for you, you were so fully persuaded that that is what you wanted to do? So You didn't mind.
I did not mind. In fact, I was enjoying it. You know, when you struggle to get something and you eventually get it,
yeah,
you will feel fulfilled.
that's right.
You know what it took me before I could get a foot in the door, the media house.
Yeah.
So when I got it, I was ready for anything. I was willing to do the very best to show that this is something I love to do and I'll do it well. Yes, it's challenging, but you know, which is why it's important. The place of passion.
Yeah.
When you're passionate about something, no matter what the challenges are, you still want to get going because you already know what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
But when the passion is not there, any form of obstacle or challenge will get you to want to leave that.
Yeah.
So
what has been the most challenging assignment for you?
The most challenging assignment,
or maybe set of assignments, if it's not only one.
Okay, I think there was a time I had to cover 3 different beats.
Okay, in a day?
Yes.
Oh.
And how did that happen? First, I was meant to cover energy, the oil industry.
Okay.
But then one of my colleagues was on leave.
Okay.
So the practice was that when somebody is on leave, someone else has to do what the person was doing, cover the person for the time. So I was doing that. I was covering the money bit as well as the energy bit, which was okay because of my background in accounting.
Yeah.
And then a week after or 2 weeks after, a colleague resigned. And then when that colleague resigned, we needed somebody because what the colleague was handling was a daily page.
Okay.
It's a daily page that has to go in, and we can't just leave it blank. So who has the ability to do it, given the sensitivity of the beats? Then I was asked to fill in.
Wow.
So at that point, I was covering 3 beats. Yes, it was challenging. I felt, oh, how could I do it? But then, with the benefit of hindsight, those beats that I covered then helped to sharpen my skills, to broaden my horizon. So I could then say, okay, so it's beyond me covering energy. Let me also go deep into some of these beats, capital markets, money markets. Then I was develop myself. I was able to read about them too deeper than what I knew. And then today, getting the benefits. So that period was very challenging for me. Another aspect of, the reporting that I found challenging was when we had to report about fuel queues, fuel scarcity in Nigeria. And you know, at some point, it was almost a yearly affair.
Yes.
Fuel queues. So whenever there are fuel queues, it could last for weeks, and you have to be on the road, on the field. You have to be at filling stations, asking motorists about their experiences, because every day you have to have a different angle for your story.
Yes.
So you have to be thinking about fresh angles to that fuel scarcity story. You have to go out and then go out to meet people, interview them, and then get into the office, put in. So it was really challenging at that point.
Wow.
It's paid off.
Some people say, for the fact that journalism is not licensed, it is not a profession. Do you agree? And they pitch it against the likes of medicine, law, nursing, accounting, engineering, and all those that have licensing regulations for practice. You know, Do you buy into that?
To some extent, given the fact that social media and the internet have democratized the media space, and it's an all-comers affair. Anybody can write or set up a website.
Yeah.
I mean, thinks he or she is a journalist. And so that's also an issue that I think needs to be addressed in a way so that we can separate those who are journalists from those who are not.
Yeah, the citizen journalists.
Yes. And this can help to curb fake news is on the rise. Why it may not be direct licensing, but I think something has to be done
to sanitize the system.
Yes, so that we don't just have a situation whereby anybody will just claim to be a journalist. But that means that the journalism profession needs to be gagged in any way or needs to be regulated by government. Because if it is regulating it, then we might not be able to report the way we should. And that would impact on what we do. So I think, like many professionals have said, self-regulation is key.
Yeah.
And then the bodies, the Guild of Editors, those, associations that has to do with registered media houses, should be able to come up with something to show that these are our members. These are people that are registered under us as an association. Maybe online practitioners or print media houses. There should be that clarity as to who are the members, so that when another platform is reporting and it's not part of, the profession, people to get to know that. It will be clear. It's just like, for instance, the stock exchange. Is a list of investment companies. And so when you see a Ponzi scheme, or when you see a company that is not genuine, you can go to that list to say, okay, is this company amongst the registered ones?
Okay.
So that can help in a way.
Okay. You have already told me that if we go back into time, you'll still do journalism. But I'm wondering, would you still want to come in with an accounting certificate or with journalism training? Or maybe with the chartered accountant, you want to go even higher?
I think I would still want to come in with an accounting degree or something close, economies, or given the fact that I want to always be a business and financial journalist. I think people who have accounting or economics background do well as business journalists. And that's not to say that if one studied English in university, one cannot excel or one can't do better than somebody who even studies accounting. I have a list of journalists who never studied anything close to finance or economics and who are fantastic business journalists today. Me, I think, given the fact that it's easier to fall back or to bring to bear what one learns in school. Doing now. So I think I would also, if I have to, I think coming in as an accountant is something that gives one an edge, so long as one is able to maximize that.
Right. Let me pull the brakes here. Thank you for this conversation. It's been quite exciting. This has been PENSDOWN. Today I've had the company of one of my colleagues from, is Nigeria Ghana's sister country or brother country? Which is which? Which is the brother, which is the sister? We are always fighting, but the best of friends.
Yes, we are friends. We're neighbors.
That's right. So from Nigeria, our big brothers, they prefer to be called that way as a way of, making them feel good. That is what they prefer. They don't want Ghana to be seen as the big brother. At least they have the numbers in terms of population. As for other things, we have it. For instance, World Cup ticket, we are going. They will look at years later at the next time. Thanks a lot, my brother, for your time.
Thank you.
Right.
Nice.
This has been Pens Down. We have talked the journalism journey of Femi Asu, his news editor, Business Day newspaper in Nigeria. We'll be back next time with another edition. Do join us when we are live so that we can hear the journalism journey or the story behind the journey of penmanship of the next colleague that will join us here. Bye for now.